What's up out there? How y'all doing? I'm doing good, Coach Giannotti. Where you from? How you doing? How's everything affecting you right now? Coach Waldrop, how you doing, bud? Oof, try my best. I'm assuming that's Spanish. El que Loga. How you doing, bud? Oh, Giannotti, where you from on Long Island, bud? Hoping to be back up there in June. I just found out we won't be in school again until April 15th, so not really sure how things are going. Oh, Brazilian, actually. Oh, good for you, buddy. Would love to get to Brazil one day. I've heard a lot of good things about it. Matty Gallagher, how you doing, bud? Elmont. Well, damn, Giannotti, we are. Depending on how old you are, we might have had some old run-ins. I'm from Valley Stream. Spent several several nights in Elmont, running around and through Elmont. Grew up betting horses at Belmont Racetrack, so got a lot of good history with Elmont. Laying low and getting work in and using the closure to my advantage. Yeah. Um, yeah, Belmont. Unfortunately, Coach Giannotti, in my younger days, I was a little bit of a derelict. Football is growing each year more and more here, bringing Americans to play and coach, and people here are crazy. But yeah, it's good to hear. Obviously, soccer is always going to be the number one thing there. But if we can get American football growing, um, I think it's a great pastime for people if they're obviously it's great entertainment from an NFL and an entertainment standpoint. But as far as younger kids playing, I think there's a lot to the game of football that, at least in my opinion, things that helped me along the way growing up that I think are a little bit different than the soccer that you're used to. So I think it's a great thing, and who knows? Maybe sometime in the near future, if I ever get a chance to go down to Brazil, maybe I can do a little clinic or something in Brazil. Who knows? Hey, Sean Sims, I appreciate it, bud. It's the only way I know how. I'm me. I do what I know how to do and what I was taught to do, and I'm just fortunate that a lot of people like the way I present information, um, and I'm glad I can help. Hey, Dakota, hope all's well in Utah. Don't know what's going on your side of the West Coast, your side of the country, our country, but don't know what's going on out there. But I hope you're safe. I hope everything's going well. April 23rd, Coach Giannotti on Long Island. Still have a bunch of friends up there. One of my college coaches that was very influential on my career, playing and coaching, is a teacher at Port Washington and is coaching at Uniondale right now. So, damn, Coach Sim, 6A. Where are you at? There was a 6A runner up in Pensacola, Niceville, or trying to think who the 6A would be. God bless you, sir. If you're a runner up, I can't even get back to the damn playoffs. Teaching in New York City, so April 23rd is the minimum. Oh, that sucks. Oh, Escambia. Good for you, Sean. Good for you. Congratulations on your season. Go Emmett Smith. Yeah, Gallagher. I think the intensity is just from a passion about the game of football and how I approach it. And it's really not something that I gear up to do when I do a video to to kind of I don't sit myself in a corner to get all worked up to get the intensity built up. It's just one of those things that as soon as I press record on the camera and start talking about football, it's just what comes out. So I appreciate the fact that you enjoy it. Yeah, we've heard some talk of the rest of the school year here. It's absolutely crazy. Appreciate it, Roy. 97 from Israel. That's awesome. Again, every time I do these YouTube live deals, it's just amazing to me that we get so many people, checking in from different places. And right now, we already got Brazil and Israel, and just amazing to me how broad a reach YouTube really can be. And if you would have told me 7 years ago I was going to start doing videos and people in Brazil and Israel and Germany and England would be watching them, I told you you're absolutely crazy. But I'm just blessed and I'm just thankful for you guys. Sean, I don't know how to answer that question right now because we've been receiving nothing but emails saying that nobody can be on campus. Our kids can't be on campus. You can't open up the facility even if kids wanted to come on their own. So to be honest with you, Sean, I haven't really encouraged our kids to do anything right now. It's still kind of, it's been from Friday till now. Excuse me. From Friday till now, everything's been such a whirlwind. From on Friday, we got an email saying that we were going to be in school and that kids, if parents didn't want to send them to school, they would be excused. And then in a whirlwind, in about 12 hours, it went to school's going to be closed until we had spring break, obviously, which probably most of you did, Sean and Escambia. I don't know when yours was, but or will be. But we then got an email saying we won't be in school until March 30th, and then you sit home for a day or two, and then you find out you're not going to be in school till April 15th. So I haven't even planned what we're going to do with our kids. I have no idea, Sean. This is uncharted territory for me and probably everywhere else. So, um, right now I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to make it till April 15th. Economically and having almost a month off when you have two kids. I have two kids, two daughters, and they're going to get bored real quick and they're going to want to do things. So, it's just a matter of trying to figure out right now economically how you're going to survive. Football's kind of on the back burner. I know you guys don't want to hear that as the guy that does YouTube videos, but I haven't even thought about what we're going to do for football yet. Shut down until at least the 30th, possibly longer. Yeah, that's. I imagine Gobert has the state going crazy, but I think that was just a coincidence. Obviously the guy was just trying to make a joke and be a little bit funny and maybe take a little bit of levity off the fact of what might be coming. And God forbid, I don't think he ever thought he'd be infected and it would turn into what it did. But I don't think it's Gobert's fault, but it is what it is. What are you going to do? Southwest Michigan, love it. Had a buddy that played for the Detroit Lions from 96 to 2002, 2003, played inside linebacker right after Chris Spielman. So I love the Michigan area. Sun Prairie High in Madison, Wisconsin, one of the original files on this. Yeah, I love it. Thanks, Elliot. Wisconsin's a great football state. Obviously, I assume maybe you're a Badger, but great, great football state, great football up there. And I'm just glad that what I do down here can reach you guys where you are, and I'm glad it can help. Have you guys, Sean, talked anything about in Escambia about what you're going to do? Playing free safety. I wish I could go back and play free safety again. I'm a little bit broken down and too old right now, but if I had my choices to coach defense or play defense, I would play defense 100 times over coaching defense. Coaching is, as much as I love it, it's about as stressful a job as you can get because you're constantly relying on other people to do the things that you're asking them to do, and you're trying to get them to play the game through your eyes the way you want to see it and the way you want to play it, but you're not the one playing it. So I wish I could go back and play free safety. Israel basically lockdowns. We're told our kids to stay home and gave them bodyweight training that we planned until mid-April. The situation is crazy. Yeah, we're about the same here in the United States. So, Ryan, I can't, I don't know what to tell you. I've never been through this before. I wish I could do a YouTube video giving you guys information on how to get through something like this, but it's crazy. Yeah, we're hoping it doesn't get too crazy too. I think right now it's with the population in the United States and the number of people that we have and the number of elderly that we have and healthcare issues that we have in the United States. I think it's kind of I think it's kind of a situation from here where I think everybody's trying to be a little bit cautious so that we don't get to a point where everybody has to say they're sorry for doing some things that they could have avoided. But I don't know. I'm just a guy, a cog in the wheel, and playing by everybody else's rules. So we'll see how everything goes. Yeah, I think keeping faith, Sean, and getting kids to kind of stay positive and say, listen, it's right now football is not till the fall, and worst comes to worst, spring gets canceled or postponed or whatever goes on. Spring is a benefit for us anyway, so you got to keep your faith, you got to keep your encouragement, and this is just another obstacle in the way that the game of football teaches us a lot of great things, and this is just an obstacle in our way that we have to get around and get over and get through. And football players are um, you know, uh, very resilient athletes, and I think our kids will be better off for it in the long run. I hope. California USC fan. Yeah, USC is a great program. I'm an East Coast guy. Grew up in New York, so don't know a ton about. Obviously, when you grow up, I've been playing football since 1978 and been around the game of football for 40 years now. So obviously, I know everything that USC is and everything that UCLA is and everything that the Pac-12 was. So I have a lot of respect for those guys out there, and hopefully Chip Kelly can get UCLA back, and hopefully USC can get back into a playoff situation. I think playoffs would be a really good deal with a USC or a UCLA in there. Quarantine workouts for the 3-3 stack or 4-2-5. LOL. Yeah. All you can do is study. All you can do is get better right now and watch everything that's out there on YouTube. And people are going bananas with these Twitter clinics and live clinics. And I think guys are just kind of panicking a little bit with all the free time that they have. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of guys would, even though we've been out of football now for a couple months, and if you have spring football and you're fortunate like we are, I think guys don't realize how much of a grind football really is when the season starts. So I think some guys would actually be better to kind of lay off a little bit longer and take some time to relax and enjoy some other things. I know I'm trying to practice my golf game as much as possible. While golf courses are still open and putting greens are still open, because once football starts, it's just a crazy grind as a head coach, and it's 80-hour weeks and it's 7 days a week. So I'm trying to get better like everybody else, but at the same time, I don't really want to panic right now. I kind of just want to enjoy some downtime and make sure family and everybody else is okay. You talking about the Tampa area or Tampa to Dakota? If you're talking about the Tampa area, I love the Tampa area. It's a shame that WrestleMania. The Bucks. I'm not a fan of the Bucks. If they get Tom Brady, I think it would be a great thing because I think Jameis Winston absolutely stinks. That's just my opinion. I'm not an NFL guy, but I'm not a Jameis Winston fan. So um, I think Tom Brady would be good for a year or two, but Tom Brady's the type of guy that you need to get if you think you're a year or two away. If the Bucks aren't a year or two away, which I don't think they are, in my opinion, then you need to stick with Jameis and keep building the team around him. But if you feel like you're a year or two away, then Tom Brady would be great. Yeah, I guess if it's done, 2 year, 30 million deal, and you got it going on in Brazil, then Tom Brady to Tampa will be exciting. It'll be exciting for the Tampa area. They'll sell. If they haven't had any sellout problems like we have in Jacksonville, they'll sell out now with Tom Brady there, and hopefully, I just hope he can finish a career the right way and not just kind of fade off into oblivion because he's been the best quarterback of all time, and he's been so damn good for the game of football and New England Patriots. Hope he doesn't go to Tampa Bay and just kind of disappear. Dan Hancock, my man, what's going on? I don't know if I'm right or wrong about Jameis. That's just my opinion, and I'm sure you know by now of all the things you've been following. I'm going to tell you my opinion, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Middle school. What are your recommendations to prepare and acquire a high school coaching position? Now, you just got to keep working at the middle school and keep doing your job. Don't worry about the next job. Keep doing your job as good as you possibly can, so that if something in the high school realm in your area opens and you're to put in for it, you've got any your head coach or principal or anybody around your program can do nothing but speak highly of you. And I go by the kind of guides of you coach the job you're at, not the job you want. So you just keep working every day to do your best at the job you're at. You study, you get better, you learn as much as you can about the game of football. And when your time comes, you answer the bell and you go from there. But don't go out of your way. Obviously, you got to look for opportunities. I get that part, but don't go out of your way to force an issue that's not really there yet. Just keep doing what you're doing. We need middle school coaches. We need great middle school coaches. I wish I had better middle school coaches where we're at, but it's very hard to find. Those guys have a tough job. There's not very many of them, and they got to coach a lot of kids. So I wish we had better middle school coaches. And if you still are a middle school coach, I hope for your sake that a high school opportunity comes about. But at the same time, I hope you just keep doing the greatest job you can for middle school because those kids need it. Yeah, 30 interceptions, but I guess he's been in the league more than 2 or 3 years now. But Peyton Manning's first year, he led the league in interceptions. So I think you can fix interceptions. I think you can work on. I'm just not a fan of him personally. As a quarterback, he may turn out to be okay, but I'm not a Bucks fan to begin with, and now I don't root for him just because he's there. If Tom Brady was there, I could be okay with them. But I'm a Jaguar fan, so in the state of Florida right now, I'm not going to root for the Bucks. We never play. I never play Coach Yante. I never play Saban's Rip Liz match. Don't know enough about it. I've studied it, but don't know enough about it to teach it. I'm a firm believer that you have to really understand what you're teaching. Um, in order to get it across to the kids so that they understand it. And I've only studied it. I've seen, videos on it and PDF files, but I also, one of my biggest pet peeves is I can't stand when people put out all these PDFs and playbook files, and they think that if you study a playbook file on something that you're going to be able to teach it. If you're not there with them and you don't know the ins and outs of how to teach it, I don't care how many playbooks you download. I don't care how many PDF files you download. Those things are all good to study and they're good for your knowledge. But when it comes to teaching kids that you need to play the game of football, you got to teach them something that you understand and you understand all the ins and outs of. And as much as I'm an Alabama fan, as much as I love Nick Saban, I don't know enough about Ripley's match. So when we close the field and we go one high, it's usually country cover three or some version of a three under three deep pressure or a man free ish deal. We're never Ripley's match. Yeah, how to is way more important than what ifs, and I just see so many guys. When I started my YouTube channel 7 years ago, the one reason I really started it is because I was so annoyed at all the playbooks and PDF files and things that people were after, and they were paying money to get. And I'm pretty knowledgeable about the game of football. I know a lot about the game of football, and I know a lot about football terminology. But if I buy somebody's playbook that I don't know anything about, that doesn't mean I can teach it. So it just really rubs me the wrong way when people get all into PDF files and playbooks. And I very rarely. I've done one video where I had some drawings and some diagrams on something, but I'm more about teaching on a whiteboard and keeping a virtual playbook of all my YouTube videos so that you can go back and see all the split field coverages we've done, all the RPO stuff that we've done. I could cheap sell to make money somebody a PDF playbook, but without me there telling you what it is, just having the diagrams and the PDFs, I don't think it's a way to go. God bless all the people that do it. I don't knock anybody in this business that tries to make a living or tries to get better. If you're somebody that has bought playbooks to get better, I don't knock any of that. It's just a pet peeve of mine. I don't think it. I just don't think it benefits anybody the way they think it's going to benefit them. It certainly doesn't hurt. Don't get me wrong. Looking at information and studying things are never going to hurt, but I don't think it benefits people as much as they think it does when they can buy a PDF file or a playbook from somebody. Unless you're there with them and you know the terminology and how to teach it, I just don't think it's the way you want to go to teach something. For us, if we're having trouble in run support, obviously you always try and get an extra hat somehow. We start to pressure and move a little bit. We've been 3-3 stack. Even when we were 4-2-5, if we're having trouble with run game, we're gonna go to one man and two man games, and then we're gonna go to 5 and 6 man pressures. And I think too high is a better way versus all the spread teams now. When they're one back, I think too high is a better way to get extra helmets to the box. If you play Ripley's match, I think you're stuck with a 6 man box and all the RPOs with two going to the flat. If you're a Ripley's match team and you're down strong safeties, whatever you want to call them, if they have to match two to the flat, I think you're stuck with a 6 man box and a free safety that has to be a hell of a player. I think if you go too high versus one back, you got a 7 man box. So if we struggle in run support, we're going to go to movements up front and we're going to go to 5 and 6 man pressure. And if we struggle from there, then we're going to shake hands and move on to the next week because it's probably a physical deal. Oh, Clark High School, another school 10 minutes from where I grew up. I went to Valley Stream Central, graduated in 1990, 1989 Conference 2 champions, beat Garden City. So my buddy Coach O'Malley, God bless you, and God bless everybody on Long Island. It was a great 22 years of my life. One thing I wish I knew from day one of coaching, I'm going to be totally honest with you, Dakota. I wish I knew that coaching was as much like the business world as anything else. I moved down to Florida thinking that if I proved myself in Florida that I could get a big time college gig. I did not know that coaching was more about who you know and not about what you know. So if I knew that going in, I don't know if I'd be a coach right now. So I don't want to say I wish I knew that going in because I may have went to law school or done something different because I thought that if excuse me I thought if I moved to Florida where football was so big and I did a good job coaching that you know, people would just grab you up and take you into assistant coaching positions. And then I found out that coaching is just like the business world. And it's not a bad thing. I don't, I've been a head football coach for 19 years. It's the only thing I know how to do. It's the only job I've had. So I'm not upset with it at all. But if I knew that going in, I may not have gotten into coaching. I don't know if that helps you or not. Sean, I'm going to be honest with you. You got ran over by Miami Central because they probably had better dudes than you did. If you get to a state championship game and you have those types of players and you've won 13, 14 games to get there and you can't stop the run, it's probably because the other team is better than you. When you get to that standpoint, if you've got to the state championship game, you've done a lot of good things in run support and run fits and tackling. And at that point in a game where you just can't handle what's going on, you probably got to move and stunt and take some chances and do some things and you know try and get one more than they have and maybe maybe some 6 man hot pressures to where you have two extra guys, you're sending six, but you got kind of an 8 man box theory where the two underneath droppers have eyes on the football, so if it's run they can fit. But my hat's off to you for being in a state championship game. If you got there and you had problems stopping a run, it's probably because they were a better team. I don't mean that in a bad way to Escambia. Obviously, you got to the state championship game. I haven't been to the playoffs since 2010. God bless you. Congrats on a great season. But I'm going to say that they probably had better dudes than you did. We'll slide our linebackers in some 2-by-2 stuff and our split field stuff. We'll push and pull our backers, and then if we get a two-back set with running backs offset both to the same side, and they're going to get three out real quick to a side, we'll push and pull our linebackers to that stuff. But I don't think we really. I don't want to say it doesn't help our run support, but we do it more for the leverage and pass coverage situations than we do for run support. But if they stack them both on one side, we'll push them a little bit. But we don't get crazy with bumping them one way or the other for run support. Jordan Everson, great question. Reed game, obviously. We had a real good quarterback, probably the last time I was in the playoffs was 2013 at a high school, and the high school I'm at right now hasn't been in the playoffs since 2010. So the last time I was in the playoffs, we had a dual threat 1,000-yard rusher and a lot of power read off a jet sweep and off a running back outside zone action, and then a lot of predetermined quarterback power where we would fake those things but not read anything and block power and run it, and then a lot of quarterback counter where off of the jet sweeps and outside zone action, we would run quarterback counter away. So we had read game for them, and then we had predetermined runs for them. So now with RPOs built in, you can run a lot of RPO quarterback draws and things like that. So a lot of ways to get your quarterback involved. Just make sure you got the right kid. Awkwardly surprising. Is that the podcast? Awkwardly surprising, or is that the person who is behind awkwardly surprising? If I could, if I could get pressure on the quarterback with 3 or 4 and play coverage, I would always choose to play coverage. Pressure is something that you go to if you don't feel good about your coverage or you don't feel good about getting to the quarterback in the amount of time he has. But if you could rush 4 and drop 7, I would choose that every day of the week. Same thing with run fits. If I could play base defense and not move, I would choose that every single day of the week. Yeah, Coach Hancock. Unfortunately, honesty is a good thing and a bad thing. I'd rather be straight up with people and kind of wear my emotions on my sleeve and let you know what I'm thinking than lie to somebody. But sometimes it gets you in trouble because some people can't handle it, and sometimes, depending on who you're dealing with, you'd probably be better off beating around the bush a little bit. No, awkwardly surprising the person. Hey, I hope you're enjoying yourself and your time off. Good luck getting through April 15th. I'm sure you're on daddy duty a bunch of the time, and I'm sure we'll be in touch figuring out what our next move is. What have you learned from other high school coaches and college programs if watching on TV and can apply to your program? I normally, when I go to other high school programs, I normally talk to them about culture, weight room, off-season programs, academics, things like that. I don't talk to them a lot about. There's some guys I'll go to about schemes. I study enough schemes on my own. If I talk to somebody in person, it's going to be about the things that I can't find out watching videos. So it's going to be about how they handle their kids, their weightlifting programs, their off-season programs, their discipline, their grade checks, their behavior checks, things like that. Their fundraising. That's what I'll talk to people about. Yeah, beer's a good thing at times, and being blunt is a good thing, and I think people get over it after a while. Coach Giannotti, if you have seen a lot of things on robber coverage, you got to be very careful with what you delineate as robber coverage. The robber coverage that I talk about, I learned when I was at St. John's University in Queens from a friend of mine that was coaching. Joe Delgaze, his name is, and very good friend of mine and my mentor. And he took it from a clinic that he went to from 1991 or 1992, Nebraska University of Nebraska, black shirt defense, robber coverage, which was a man-free one, send four, play man, have a one low robber, one high robber, 11 robber, one low, one high, one rat, Saban terms. That's what I call robber. But if you talk to most other people, when they talk about robber, it's probably more of a quarters type Virginia Tech type defense where they have a safety that's robbing off a number two, and so you have to be very careful with what you delineate as robber. I think you got to get stuff out there on social media with recruiting. You got to get stuff out there on Twitter and everywhere else because that's where guys are now. And you got to be proactive with their grades and early on because recruiting has started so early now. The guys are coming to look in ninth and 10th grade, which absolutely drives me nuts because the ninth and 10th grade kids I have no idea if they're even going to start for me on varsity, let alone what kind of player they're going to be in 3 years. So you've got to really be on top of their grades because they come so early now. And if you've got a kid that in 10th grade is going to be a great player, but he's under 2.0 or around 2.0, and they're going to shy away from him. And by the time he gets his stuff in line, they're going to already have offered a bunch of other people, and they're not going to have any offers left. So you just got to push your kids the best you can. You got to get your kids to be proactive on social media and get their highlights and things out. And you just got bottom line is you got to tell kids to make sure that they're doing their job as students and players and putting things on film that they want to put on film and putting together the best film possible. You don't want any decent player can put together 8 to 10 clips of highlights. And what's normally going to happen is if a guy likes your highlight, he's going to ask you for a game film. So you got to tell kids that they got to play away from the ball. They got to play hard every snap. They got to hustle. They got to do things other than just catching and running and tackling. And they've got to be, guys that colleges want to recruit, and then they got to have great grades and great behavior. So I'm sure you're doing a great job, Sean. I'm sure it's just you don't have the kids that everybody else is looking for maybe sometimes. And the Division 1 kids I've been a head football coach for 19 years now, and I've had 4 Division 1 players, and every Division 1 player that I've had, I didn't have to do anything extra to get those kids to Division 1. They were so good as players that once the highlights went out, guys came around and recruited the state of Florida, and they got offers. So the good ones go. They're always going to go. I agree with you. It's the under the radar, middle of the road kids that always have a tough job finding a place to play. Yeah, Orange Park was really good back in the 90s, early 2000s. They were a 6A, 7A, 8A, whatever the largest classification was before Fleming opened, and then before Oakleaf opened. Fleming opened, and that hurt a little bit with a new school in an area where people wanted to be, and then Oakleaf opened, which really took its toll on Orange Park football. Haven't made the playoffs since Oakleaf opened. Went from an 8A school to a 5A school. Went from 2,700 kids to 1,500 kids. So our numbers aren't the same. Our depth is not the same. We still get a lot of really good football players, but we just don't have the depth that we need. And just got to do a better job coaching. I mean, anytime you're at a place that has some players like Orange Park has, and you can't make the playoffs, you just got to take a look at yourself and do a better job coaching and do a better job in the offseason controlling the things that you can control. And I don't control where kids are going to go to school. If they want to go to Fleming, they go to Fleming. If they want to go to Oakleaf, they go to Oakleaf. State of Florida has made it easy for kids and parents to go where they want. So all we can do is get our program out there, get what we're doing for our kids out there. And when they get to us, we got to make them good players. In quarters, I tell my guys they have all one unless he disappears under. If he does, what do you tell the cornerback to do next? Keep drumming. Yeah, I would just tell the cornerback to find work, zone the quarter. Obviously, look for number 2. If number 1 goes under, 2's probably doing something vertical or out, or if it's a drive concept, 2 might be running a dig. But if your corner just sinks and tries to find work and looks up number 2, you're not going to get hurt by anything there. We've actually played quarters before where we've pressed at the line and played number 1 man everywhere. And other than some rub routes with 1 and 2 and a strong safety or down safety getting picked, we didn't really get hurt by it. It was a much easier way to tell the corners, look, when we play quarters coverage, you have all of 1 everywhere he goes. We didn't have to worry about under, disappear, find work. We pressed him with inside leverage, and everywhere he went, we played a man and played a lot of good defense that way. And there's times where I think about doing it again. I know it's not the way that you would technically, quote unquote, teach or play quarters, but sometimes in high school you got to kind of adjust a little bit. So I did it. I've never been afraid to make some adjustments and do things the way that I feel they need to be done. And we played a lot of good defense that way. Yeah, it's a good challenge, BK. Coach Krause is a great dude, great football coach. I talk to him almost every day, and every day that I talk to him, I actually try to convince him to actually tone it down a bit and just be the guy you are. He's smart enough. He's a great coach. I think he outthinks himself sometimes, and he overanalyzes the game because he has that type of brain. He's very, very intelligent. So when I talk to him, half the time I'm trying to tell him just be you and do the things that you know how to do. You're a great coach. And if you go back to when Bishop Kenny had Ahmad Fullwood and some of those kids, they were winning football games, and now they don't. So is it really Bishop Kenny or is it the kids? I mean, they won a lot of games and watched Tim Krause as an offensive coordinator and Mark Thorson do a lot of great things at Bishop Kenny when they had those types of players. So, football's about dudes. It is what it is. And yes, his playbook has a lot of verbiage. That's Coach Krause, and I can promise you, Dan, that I every day that I talk to him, I am throwing jabs at him to get him to calm that down. But he is who he is, and it's just something that we'll disagree on. Practice plans. I mean, it depends on the day, Coach Flynn. There's always going to be some type of indie and teach and drills and skills, and then you're going to have some small group work where you're working on run fits or pass coverage or inside run game or perimeter run game or RPOs. And um, I think if you went around the country to most practices, I would think most of them are organized about the same. It's just a matter of what coaches get out of them and what they do to get the best out of them, and making sure that if you have somebody to film, you film them so you can teach off a film the best you can, and trying to do the best you can with the coaches you have to make sure that kids are involved and not standing around. Coach Giannotti, all things considered, it depends on the formation. If we have two removed, we're going palms all day until we have to go quarters. If we have tight end flanker, we're going quarters all day. We aren't playing palms. So formation dictates that for me. Down in Miami, Florida, once more schools open. The old football dynasties, the 80s and 90s, man, as kids spread out, much more parity. Now, yeah, with the more schools, you get parity. My mom actually graduated from Miami Norland way back in the day. My dad was working for General Electric um, back in the late 60s when he met my mom in Miami. My dad graduated from Bay High in Panama City. So both my parents graduated from Florida high schools and got married in Miami. I was born in Miami in 1972 and didn't move to Long Island until 1975. So I was a huge Dolphin fan my whole life, huge Dan Marino fan, huge Mark Duper, Mark Clayton fans as a receiver, huge Nat Moore fan, Jimmy Cephalo, Joe Rose. So I love everything about Miami. Yeah, if it's 2 by 2, we're going palms both sides, Coach Giannotti. Absolutely, no question. The only way we would not go palms both sides is if there was something to one side, if there was some type of outside run that we needed to force better, or we wanted to stop quick game to number one. But we are going palms both sides, 2 by 2, 100%. Sky safety to the single sides, a D gap run player flat, curl flat defender trying to work underneath number one. So we're working on him getting down and reading through the tackle box through, as they get better, maybe tackle to near hip of a near back or that triangle there, and trying to get him to understand run two, run away, and where he needs to fit and runs away, how to be a scrape player and a fold player. And, depending on the gaps that are open, if he doesn't have any open gaps, on inside runs or runs away, trying not to get him to fold too fast for RPOs. But I think the harder part with the sky player is trying to disguise what he's doing. Once he's down there, everybody knows what he's down there for. So we got to work a little bit harder and a little bit better to disguise the sky player. Yeah, 85 Dolphins Bears was great. That stadium was probably absolutely crazy. I was 13 years old on Long Island in the middle of New York Jet, New York Giant territory, and I was a huge Dolphin fan. I remember that game to this day. Most memorable game of my life was the '82 playoff game against the Chargers. Absolutely insane, great football game and a heartbreaker. Uh, Riggins carrying Don McNeil into the end zone in the Super Bowl was another heartbreaker. So I'm there with you, Jolly. I remember it all. Never really see videos anywhere regarding defensive install at the beginning of camp, how you pace out your installation for all three levels. When you say all three levels, do you mean all three levels of what would be junior high, JV, varsity, or all three levels of D line, linebacker, secondary? I don't control what my junior highs do. I don't have one junior high feeder. I only control my JV and my varsity. So I could probably talk to you a little bit about that, but I actually have some YouTube videos up on install and stuff like that. D line, linebacker, DBs. It's all going to be skills and drills and stance and start and reads and techniques and block rec and block destruction and tackling and all those things. And then it's going to build into the scheme that we're playing and what we need to teach them. And D linemen have to be able to understand gaps and understand block recognition and block destruction. And linebackers have to understand block recognition and block destruction and gaps that they're fitting in run fits. And safeties need to know when they're in run fits. And then in each coverage, when we start in base, if we're starting in palms to each side or palms to one side and sky to the other, got to understand what they're doing. So I don't think it's anything. It's probably a good topic. I agree with you 110%, but I don't think it's anything revolutionary. We start with techniques and fundamentals and stances and starts, and we just drill from there into block recognition, block destruction, and coverage, and run fits, and just go from there. The thing I would say is get your base stuff in first. Get your kids good at that before you put in. I see too many guys jump to too many coverages early, and jump to pressures early, and then you never get good at base. Get good at your base defense, and if you're really good at that, you won't need anything else. Hurry up offense, and let's say I only have like 25 or 20 players total. Would it work or not? Yeah, here's the thing you got to consider. If a hurry up offense with 25 players is going to help you score more points, it's obviously going to affect your ability to play defense. But if it helps you score more points to outscore somebody, then it's definitely worth it. If you feel like with those 25 players, you can play really good defense, and if you go hurry up, it'll affect how you play defense, and you're worried about that, then I wouldn't do it. If you're an average to mediocre defensive team, then I think going hurry up and trying to score as many points as possible will probably be more conducive to you. Just know that those kids got to be conditioned and mentally tough, and if they are, you're in great shape. Yeah, I'm a I'm a firm believer, Giannotti, that you got to get into the playbook day one because as important as techniques and fundamentals are in the game of football, at some point kids have to line up and play something. So if you teach kids nothing but block recognition, block destruction, and tackling, and a team comes out in a formation and they don't know how to get into a front or a coverage, you can teach fundamentals all you want. If all 11 guys line up in the middle of the field, you're dead. Or if all 11 guys line up into the boundary or to the field, you're dead. So techniques and fundamentals are very important, and they're the backbone of the game. But at the same time, I've argued with people all the time that talk about techniques and fundamentals. Yeah, without techniques and fundamentals, you'll get killed, but without a scheme, you'll get killed too. So what's the difference? You got to teach them both. Hey, stay safe in Elmont. My sister, I wish I knew the street. There used to be a pizzeria right off of Meacham Avenue that she worked at. I think at one time it might have been Primavera. I don't know what it is now, but she lives right down one of those side roads uh, with her boyfriend. Um, and every time I go back, last summer I went down Meacham Avenue to her house for about an hour or two. So every summer I go back. I go by. It's only 10 minutes from where I grew up in Valley Stream. I no longer have anybody in Valley Stream. My one brother lives down here with me. My other brother lives in Oregon. My sister lives off of Meacham. I wish I knew the next time Coach Giannotti, I go live. I'm going to find out from my sister. I just talked to her 2 days ago. I'm going to find out what street. Oh, yeah, Salvatore's. You are right. Great pizza. Great pizza. My sister worked there when it was Primavera forever. And that same road before going down Meacham towards Belmont, when you make a left right before the pizzeria at that road, and she is down past the dumpsters. She is down on about houses down on the right. It's a house that her boyfriend grew up in forever, and his parents unfortunately just recently passed away, so they both live there now. So unbelievable memories of Elmont. Great place. It's a hard offense to cover the T offense for 2 years now. Our varsity team played this. One team in the playoffs, and every year the offense is fakes and tricks. Yeah, with things like that with the T offense, number one thing that's hard about it is you don't see it, so you're not used to defending it. When it comes down to offenses like that, whether it be single wing T, T offenses, things like that, it's all about reads and keys. You've got to study film and understand who the guys are in that offense that are going to take you to the football, so that your kids aren't just looking in the backfield. I think it's a great offense in high school because a lot of defensive players that, aren't disciplined, look in the backfield, and um, there's 9 million fakes going on and all that. So I think it's a great offense. I don't have anything bad to say about it. I think there's a reason you only see it at lower levels. That's just my opinion, but I think it's a great offense because people never see it. It's different. It's shocking. And then But I think if you played them in the playoffs a few times, I would be studying those films and looking at reads and keys and not just the score of the game. I'd be looking at if there's certain guard, strong side or weak side, or tackles, or a back in, spot back in the middle. If there was anything that you could take all that film of all those games and uh, bring it all back to say, hey, that's the guy we need to key. I think that's what you need to do. Uh, all right, Todd, I'm going to give you. I have a video out on this, Todd, on snap counts and formations, and um, I'm going to give you what I do as an offensive coordinator, and I never go on to. That's the first thing because in my studies of football, of being a head coach for 19 years now, offenses go off sides more than defenses go off sides when you go on two. So we never go on two. We snap the ball on one and we snap it on first down. And what we do is we build it into our formations from a tempo package. So any of our base formations that have a right or a left in them, for instance, if I said even right, trips right, even left, trips left, we're going to snap the ball on one. Any formation that's a tempo deal where I just say NASCAR, Indy, Daytona, we're going to snap the ball on first sound. We build it into the kids from day one when they get into camp. And then when we condition them, we run them that way. When we run gassers, instead of blowing a whistle, I'll say, hey, O-line, you're up, Frisco right. And I'll say down, set, hut. Anybody that jumps offside has to do up downs. Next group up, I'll say, hey, NASCAR, down. Anybody that doesn't go on down because that's a first sound deal. Anybody that doesn't go on down has to run gasser. So that's just what we do. And then we also freeze, where we go down set hut and we don't snap the ball. So we have a freeze, we have a first sound, and we have an on one. We never go on two, we never go on three. I think if you build your formations that way and figure out within your offense how to do that, you never have to call a snap count. You never have to worry about a snap count. It's already taught to your kids, and you have a way to teach it to them while you're conditioning. So to me, that's the best thing I've ever done. Coach Irvin, I'm going to tell you that they run the T because that's what their coaches know, and that's what their coaches want to do. Obviously, the fact that they have a great wrestling team makes them mentally tough, physically tough. Those kids know how to persevere, but I don't think they run a T because they're a wrestling team. I think they run a T because that's what their coaches probably know best. That's just my opinion. In the 3-3 stack, Coach O'Malley in the 3-3 stack, day one, we move our line in left to right based on where the back is and what we're trying to do. So our nose guard is a gap player, and he's got to move from head up to nose. So day one teaching for our nose guard, our D-line coach has to teach him how to move one gap, and he's really got a block rec off the guard that he's moving to. Yeah, if they run it really well, Coach Irvin, it's going to be tough. You got to study how to stop it, how to read it, what keys you need to read. And if they have big linemen, they could probably run anything they want to if they're better than you and just maul you at the point of attack. So I would just look at your previous games and all the games you have on them on film and see if there's um, anything key wise, tendency wise that you could get. Uh, Let me get to Anthony first. Anthony, here you guys see have answers in your scheme in an abstract way that makes sense, but how do you build answers in your pass game if you're not going to tag? Not going to tag off routes or package. Well, when we build our pass game, we're building it kind of with routes that we want to attack certain coverages. So instead of just building a pass game of concepts that you see on Twitter or online somewhere that you think are great, we try to build in some things that are. Thanks, Coach O'Malley. Appreciate it. Stay safe, but we try to build in some things that are good versus three deep, and some things that are good against quarters, and some things that are good against man, and try to only carry 4 or 5 pass concepts, and try to carry concepts that are good against different coverages, or universal concepts we think that are good against multiple coverages. And then we tag in some beaters from there where within that scheme we might tag a wheel, we might tag a go route like a snag and go or something like that. So you're basically just building answers off of the defenses that you're seeing. You don't have to build answers by at least in my opinion, with what I've done in high school. If you put 8 to 10 passing concepts in, you're not going to have enough time to get good at all of them. So just because they may be a certain coverage beater, if you can't get good at it, it doesn't really matter. So carry 4 or 5 that have answers to almost everything, and go from there. Get good at what you're doing before you try and get good at what you're beating. You talking about coaching stuff, Sean? If you are, I have a Patreon site, patreon.com/Coach Mac. And on that site, I have some videos that I do that are different than YouTube. They're videos where I go a little bit more in depth on a whiteboard, and then I actually show you clips of us running our stuff at the various high schools I've been at, if that's what you're talking about. If it's stuff when I was playing in high school, no, I don't have any of those VHS tapes. All right, guys, got about 9 minutes left. So I'll answer anything else you got. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys being on tonight, and I'll try and do this a couple more times in the next few weeks since everybody's going to be looking for something to do, and I'm going to be looking for something to do. So I always appreciate you guys. Appreciate everything you've done for me. So not a coach, and it's all right. I'm just a big fan of football, and I like watching your stuff. I play JV. Next year, I'm going to be playing. All right, so Jack, even though you're not a coach, if you're a JV player and you're going to be a varsity player, if you guys have huddle or you have a beans to have film, if you've played that same school a couple times and they beat you every time, go back and watch all the games that they beat you or that you played them, and don't watch them to watch the game. Watch them to analyze what they're doing. So watch them and almost ignore your team for a little while and watch them to see how they run certain run plays and see if there's pullers that are the same, or if there's a certain guard that takes you to the ball, or if there's something the center does, or whatever it may be. When they're in the tee, I can almost guarantee you that the backfield is probably the last place you ever want to look. Those guys up front, regardless of whether it's tee, spread, pro, wing tee, flex bone, the guys up front are going to take you to the ball. So kind of ignore all the other stuff that's going on and just focus on the guys up front and see if you can find something logical that can take you to the football. That's my advice. Yeah, patreon.com, Patreon /Coach Mac. It's $5 a month. There's only one subscription platform. I don't charge any more than that. I do live Q&As this Wednesday. I'm going to do a live Q&A similar to this platform. When I do podcasts, we videotape the podcast, and I put the videotape of the podcast so you can see me, actually me and whoever's on the podcast doing the podcast. There's 12 to 15, 18 videos up there that have clips of us playing 3-3 stack and RPOs and one free stuff. And then I did a webinar last year, and I did 2 webinars last year that are on there. And then there's like 10-minute clips of 8 or 10 different coaches that spoke at my clinic in January. So it's a great site. I love it. I'm going to do more with it moving forward when we get hopefully into spring ball or into next season. But it's just a way to do a little bit more than I do on YouTube and give out a little bit more information than I do. And it's a subscription site, so it's a way for me to kind of try and make a little bit of extra money to make the YouTube site better, to get better cameras, to get better editing. And so it's just something I do on the side. And I promote it, but I don't go crazy promoting it because I still do all my YouTube stuff. So if nobody goes to the Patreon site, it is what it is. I'm always going to do my YouTube stuff because that's where I cut my teeth and that's where I develop my following. So it's cool. I like it. And I think if you checked it out for $5 a month, I think it'd be well worth the investment for $5 a month. I don't know how much else out there for $5 a month is better than that, but check it out. And if you like it, hopefully stay tuned in the future, because as we get closer to football, I'm able to do more things from practice and I have more video to show. You're welcome, Jack. Hopefully it pays off, and just be thankful you're getting to the playoffs with the school you're at. Like I said, I haven't been. The school I'm at hasn't been in the playoffs since 2010, and I haven't been in the playoffs since 2013. So enjoy it, and if you get a chance to do anything that helps you beat that team, then God bless you. And if you find something that works and you end up beating that team, just make sure you give me a shout out. Hardest part of coaching by far for me is not playing. As a competitor and somebody who played football my entire life, when you're coaching, you are relying on the work ethic, attitude, behavior, mental toughness, mental fortitude, physical abilities of other people. When you're a player and a competitor, you always want to rely on your own abilities to get you in and out of certain situations. And as a coach, you can't make a play. I can't go out there and make a play for my team. I just have to do my best to get them in position. So that's probably the hardest part. The most rewarding part is trying to make kids better people. Less than in 19 years of head coaching high school football and 22 years of coaching football, probably less than uh, 1.5% of the kids I've coached have gone on to play college football. So if I can have an impact on kids' lives to make them better people, to make them remember what we did, be better workers, be better members of society, um, you know, be better husbands or fathers, whatever it is I can help them do. The most rewarding part is when you get guys that are 30, 35 years old come back and say, they look you up on Instagram or Facebook and Twitter, and they say, Coach Mack, it's Johnny so and so, and I'll never forget that time you said this or did this. That's probably the most rewarding part. A day after Austin 316 Day. For those of you that are wrestling fans out there. All right, guys, winding it down. Got about 3.5 minutes. Again, everybody that's been on, thank you. 21, 22 people on is awesome. Thank you for everything you guys have done. If you have any more questions that you want to ask in the next 3 or 4 minutes, go ahead. Anything you want to talk about, anything you want to ask. At what age did you know you wanted to coach? And I didn't know I wanted to coach until I was about 21 years old. Actually, you too, Jack. Make sure you and your family and your friends and everybody takes care of everything they need to take care of right now, and just be patient. This too shall pass. Um, when I was growing up, I was always a student of the game. I wasn't as physically talented as some other players. I was in high school. I was 5'9", 135 pounds, playing receiver and safety. Was never the biggest guy. Ran decently well. Was fairly athletic for where I played on Long Island. Then when I went to college, I was 5'9", 150 pounds, playing receiver. So I always had to study the game and understand the game and have a little bit of a methodical approach and a technical approach to what I was doing. But as far as teaching for a career, I actually wanted to go to law school. I was a criminal justice undergrad. Thought I was going to go to law school, wanted to be a lawyer. And then after being in college for a couple of years, I decided that I couldn't go to school for 5 or 6 more years. So I got a graduate assistant job and found out that I love coaching, and that's how I got into it. Rock, hope everything is well, my man. Stay safe. Good hearing from you. Um, Hope your wife and family are okay. So, seeing some pictures on Instagram, looks like it's warming up a little bit in Michigan. So, good luck to you in the spring and the summer. Stay safe, be healthy, and look forward to continually talking to you and obviously seeing you again at next year's clinic. It's tough, Willie. It's 80-hour weeks during the season, and in the off season, I try to do everything I can to pick my daughters up from dance and be around when I can be around. And it's not an easy balance. You just do the best you can, and you live and you learn. Good question, though, Willie. You better find somebody that's understanding of what you do. Choose well. All right, guys, going into about the final minute here. I appreciate every one of you. Uh, you have a blessed evening too, Willie. Stay safe out there. Appreciate every one of you guys. Appreciate everything you've done for Play Fast Football. Appreciate everything you've done on YouTube. If I imagine you guys already have notifications turned on, that's how you know I was going live. Yes, Orban, I've wanted to coach college my whole life. I've wanted to be in a situation. Yes, Rock, please do. I wanted to be in a situation where financially I could take care of my family and make a couple $100,000 coaching football. And obviously, you're on the road a lot and you're away from home a lot. But at the same time, you can provide your family with a living that you want to provide them with, which is tough to do in high school football because you don't make enough money. But I've probably passed my window for college coaching. It's not a knowledge thing. It's not a scheme thing. I feel like I could. I feel like I could go to college and recruit with everybody out there. I can relate to kids. I feel like I could probably coach a position and maybe even coordinate in due time at the Division I level. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's just I think I've probably missed my calling in my window. Uh, Petroleros, I was going to read your comment and respond, but you retracted the message, so I don't know what to say. Rob Strecker, thank you very much. Where are you checking in from, bud? Wherever you're checking in from, I hope you are safe and figure out a way to manage all this madness for the next 2 or 3 weeks or a month, and hope we all get out on the other side the way we want to get out and get back to living. I think the one thing I will tell you about what's going on right now in the world is it makes you kind of appreciate. Oh God, I was a huge Gretzky fan growing up. Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Huge Wayne Gretzky fan, and as a wrestling fan, I know it's not Edmonton, but as a wrestling fan, just a huge, huge Bret Hart, Chris Jericho, the whole Hart family, Edge and Christian, and just can't say enough. Lance Storm, can't say enough about Canada and what it's done for professional wrestling. And obviously, growing up on Long Island, I was a hockey player, and everything that Canada's done um, for the game of hockey. Is it true that when the NHL shut down, that Canada said they'd have a cure for the virus within a week, just so hockey could be played again? And if you're, I don't know how old you are, Rob, but if you're a music fan, I was also a huge Triumph fan back in the '80s. A hard rock, heavy metal guy growing up in the '80s. Triumph was a great, great band from Canada. Hey, Coach Bradley from Mexico, thank you so much for jumping on. We're at the end, but if you have Coach Bradley, since you jumped on from Mexico, I will stay on if you have any questions that you want to answer. Yes, yeah, Rob. Rush is the band that everybody knows. Rest in peace, Neil Peart. Obviously, I was a huge Rush fan as well, but I leaned a little bit more towards Triumph being a little bit under the radar. But Moving Pictures was probably one of the first albums I had as a kid growing up. So huge, huge Rush fan. Obviously, if you're into any type of metal or hard rock music, you have to appreciate how great Rush was, the musicianship, how great they were at their craft. Um, absolutely love Rush. Um, Thank you, Orban. God bless you and your family too. Thanks for everything you do. Got Sam here from the Dallas Fort Worth in the house. Thank you, Jason Lewis, and God bless you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless you for being in Texas, probably the greatest football state in the country, bar none. I am not one of those people that are going to sit here and tell you that Florida is better than Texas. It is not. We may have more Division One players than NFL players at any given time, but as far as football is concerned, Texas is and always will be the be all end all of high school football. If anybody wants to argue that, Jason Lewis, you can tell them that Coach Mac 8740 on Twitter, Instagram, Coach Mac on YouTube, with one of the largest high school YouTube sites in the nation, coaching football in Florida. You can tell them that I said that Texas football is the be all end all of high school football. Whereas Coach Bradley, if you got any questions you want to ask, go ahead and ask them. I'm going to stay on a few extra minutes. It's crazy, Orban Reed, how good high school football is in Texas and how good the facilities are and how good the coaches. I actually feel like a lot of the coaches in Texas actually almost make the money that they deserve to make for what they do. They treat them so well. They give them the appropriate classes that they need and the time off that they need. The facilities, when you look at these places in Texas that have indoor facilities and the weight rooms and indoor practice facilities, it's just crazy, and it's a godsend to everybody that's in Texas involved in football. And I'm not one of those people that has anything against Texas football. I'm actually very glad that Texas football does it the way they do it, so that everybody has a litmus test to kind of take what you do. If the state of Florida had any set of balls whatsoever, they would take what Texas does within their rules, how they pay their coaches, their facilities, and they would copy that because Texas is by far the best. Uh, what exactly, Coach Bradley, do you mean by 3-4 monster defender? Does that mean that one of the outside guys is coming and they're rolling a safety down, or they play an extra guy somewhere? I know what the old 5-2 monster defense was, but that was more or less five defensive linemen, two linebackers, and then a safety that would roll down to the field and voided out zones. And um, and maybe I can, Orban. I don't know if I can or not. I appreciate that. I appreciate you being a fan, and I feel like I can coach football at the high school level probably with anybody in the country. But at the end of the day, it's all about results. And um, recently I haven't got the results that I need to get. So based on that, I will appreciate your opinion, and I respect you very much. And it feels good to hear that. But based on the results right now, I think there's a lot of guys that are doing it better than I am. But yeah, Bradley, Coach Bradley, you would have to tell me a little bit more about the 3-4 schemes that you're talking about, and what you're seeing, and um, what you run on offense, and then I would be able to give you a little bit, maybe a little bit more information on how to best attack 3-4 stuff. Usually tight ends and fullbacks, and adding gaps, and making them declare those outside linebackers as either rushers or uh, predetermined run fitters. Um, is a little bit easier for you when they're allowed to play that 3-4 structure, and those four linebackers can rush or drop, and you don't know who the fourth rusher is, and you don't know which way the front is moving. That makes it uh, that makes it you know tough in the 3-4. Yeah, no doubt, it's one of the four corners of the football universe, and there's no question. I would argue our talent. I would say our talent is better than Texas. I would say that you know Division One football players and NFL football players. I would say that it's right there per capita. I know people have studied this, but I don't even have to study it. I know it for a fact. It's going to be right there player wise. It's going to be right there um, with Texas. But as a football coach, I don't look at it as players and talent, and I look at it as organizationally, structurally, pay, facilities, coaching jobs, guys on staff. You have Texas schools that have 20 something guys on staff coaching from middle school all the way up through high school. It's just everything that it needs to be and everything that it's supposed to be. Player for player, if you put those kids in a sandlot, I'll put our Florida kids up against anybody in the country every day of the week. But as far as football behind the scenes is concerned, it is Texas, and it's not even close. Florida, California, Georgia, Ohio, I think they're a distant 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't even think it's close structurally to Texas. We have a bunch of good athletes at our school. We've been missing some linemen in the last couple of years, having a hard time developing offensive and defensive linemen. But we have good players. We have good athletes. Just don't have a lot of depth right now. And our county has 6 or 7 schools and a couple new schools that open, and those kids can go anywhere they want without having to live in a school zone. And so recruiting is a big deal where we are. And we have the oldest school in the county, so when you drive by, the outside of it doesn't look as appealing as some of the other schools. So we don't have bad players. I don't say that at all. We have good players. I like our players. We just got to do a better job. At 3 LB, so I guess you're saying that there's 5 rushers and 3 linebackers. I would try and go one back. I would try and go one back 2 by 2 and get one of those outside linebackers to drop off somewhere, or make them declare they're covered somehow. If they're going to rush 5 and you go 2 by 2, they've got to declare whether they're going to be man free or 3 under 3 deep. Um, I would try and I would try and do some things formationally to get them out of what they do. I wouldn't worry so much about schemes per se. I would worry more about formations to get them out of that base 5-2, 3-4 structure, whatever it is that you're seeing. Anything else, Coach Bradley, as I get to wind this down? I am not a I am not a huge formations guy, Orban, because um, I think when you get into multiple formations, sometimes you have a tendency to only be able to run certain things. out of those formations, and then you become formation dependent. Um, I'm more of a fan of running two or three formations where we can run a lot of our same offense out of it. That's why I'm such a two back, 20 personnel twins open fan, because I think we can run our entire offense out of it. Um, I think if you're an inside zone, outside zone, or wide zone guy, I think you can be more formationally um, variant and different, because you can run wide zone from anything and you can run inside zone from anything. When you start to get into power counter and some other things, I think you become formationally dependent. And then in a passing game, I think some things become formationally dependent. So I know when I'm coaching defense, a lot of times I'll see teams that'll get into one back and they can only run certain things in one back. And then they get into two back or pro and they only run certain things. And then you can kind of gear your defensive calls based on the personnel. So if you can be multi-dimensional and run everything in your offense from multiple formations, obviously one and two back is going to be a little bit different. You're going to lose lead runs and powers and counters and things that you need two backs unless you're running quarterback powers and counters. But if you're a zone guy, I think multi formations is a good way to go. And we haven't been a lot of zone in the past couple of years, so I'd rather play in a similar formation, play a little bit faster, and keep things simpler for our kids. The big thing is the kids you have too. When you go multi formations, you got to have kids that understand how to get in those formations, and then if their assignments change based on those formations, it's all about what those kids can do. So it's not so much what I want to do as it is sometimes what the kids can do. Put the women and kids to bed, Lewis. But again, guys, I appreciate everything you guys have done. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm going to do this probably 3 or 4 more times in the next 3 weeks coming up. Three D line, four linebackers, an extra linebacker, 2 to 3 yards over linebackers. Yeah, that's going to be Coach Bradley, I would say get into one back and spread out a little bit and see if you can make that extra linebacker declare himself. Um, if you're going to sit in two back sets and they're going to stay 3-4 with that guy kind of robbing and being an extra player somewhere, you got to study your film and figure out how he's fitting, where he's fitting, and what his pass responsibilities are. Can you get him matched up on somebody in the passing game? And it's something that I would have to see what they do and what you do and kind of figure out where we could go from there. But first thing I would look at is formations to get them out of that defense. But again, guys, I appreciate everything you guys do for Play Fast Football, everything you do for me. We'll do this a couple times in the future. Look for a couple more YouTube videos in the future. Next time we go live, if you have any topics that you want me to do videos on, make sure you let me know what those topics are. Make sure you follow Junior Soprano, good one. They got Sunny by the Causeway. Um, any topics you want, make sure you follow me on Twitter at CoachMac8740, Instagram CoachMac8740. Obviously, the YouTube channel is Coach Mac, but you're probably already a subscriber and you have your notifications on. That's why you know we went live. You're welcome, Coach Bradley. If I could do anything in the future to help off of, if I knew a little bit more about what they did, I would love to help. But blind, not being able to see what they do and what you do, I don't know how much information I can give you to not um, just be talking out of the other side of my mouth just to say stuff. I don't want to just say stuff. I would have to see what they do to really help. Be safe out there, guys. Take care of yourself. Take care of your families. And whenever we do it next time, I'll see you again. Peace. Remember, you won't play well until you play fast. Catch you guys next time.